Subscribe to my YouTube channel for more incredible stories like this. The night was supposed to be peaceful. The lanterns of the Tang clan flickered under the vast sky, casting a warm glow on the stone courtyard. Laughter echoed through the tar halls as children played, their small footsteps pattering against the ancient floors. Warriors of the family sat together, sharing a rare moment of rest, unaware that it would be their last. Then, the silence was shattered. A shadow moved swiftly through the darkness. Before anyone could react, flames erupted like a demon unleashed. Screams filled the air as assassins stormed the gates, their blades cutting through the night. Blood painted the sacred grounds red, and one by one, the mighty Tang clan fell. Warriors fought bravely, but the enemy was ruthless, merciless. The family, once feared and respected, was reduced to ashes in a single night. She was only 9 years old. Zhao Yulan hid beneath the wooden floorboards, pressing her tiny hands over her mouth to silence her sobs. Through the cracks, she watched, in horror as her mother, her strong, fearless mother, was cut down before her eyes. Her father's last roar echoed through the halls, followed by the sickening sound of steel meeting flesh. Her older brother, the one who always protected her, was dragged away into the fire, his face lost in the flames. Everything was gone. For 3 days she hid among the ruins, her tiny body curled up beneath broken beams, surviving on nothing but rainwater and scraps of burned rice. The stench of death surrounded her, and the nightmares never stopped. But she didn't cry anymore. She couldn't. There were no tears left. Only one thought remained in her shattered mind: revenge. But how could a starving child fight against the men who destroyed her family? She wandered from village to village, ignored and forgotten. People turned their faces away when they saw her, a girl covered in soot and dried blood. When hunger became unbearable, she searched through garbage piles, picking out moldy bread and rotten vegetables just to stay alive. She learned how to steal, how to move unseen in the shadows. Then, one fateful night, everything changed. A drunken soldier, laughing with his comrades, tossed a chicken bone into the dirt. Yulan rushed forward, desperation making her reckless. But before her fingers could reach it, a heavy boot landed on her wrist, pinning her down. "Look at this little rat," the man sneered, lifting his foot just enough to let her scramble back. "So hungry you're eating trash, huh?" His friends laughed. But before they could mock her further, an old man stepped forward, his eyes sharp like a hawk's, locked onto hers. There was no pity in them, only calculation. "She's not a rat," the old man said. "She's a survivor." With that, he tossed her a steamed bun. Yulan hesitated, but hunger won over caution. She grabbed it and devoured it within seconds. "Follow me if you have the guts," the old man muttered, walking away without looking back. She didn't hesitate. That was the night she met Master Wei, the man who would turn her from a starving orphan into something far more dangerous. Training under him was brutal. The first time she tried to throw a punch, she nearly dislocated her wrist. When she attempted to kick, she fell flat on her back. Every mistake was met with punishment, not cruelty, but discipline. "You want revenge?" Master Wei said one evening, as she lay on the cold floor, gasping for breath. "Then stop acting like a child. The world doesn't care about your pain. Strength is the only thing that matters." So she pushed herself beyond her limits. She trained until her fists bled, until her legs gave out, until her body screamed in protest. When she failed, she tried again, and again, and again. Years passed, and the weak little girl who once begged for food became unrecognizable. Her movements were sharp, precise, every strike filled with the fire of vengeance. She was no longer a child of the Tang clan. She was a weapon. Now the time had come. Dressed in the robes of a wandering warrior, her hair tied back in a single braid, Zhao Yulan stood outside the gates of the Dala sect, the fortress of the men who slaughtered her family. The name of her clan had been forgotten by the world, but she remembered. Tonight, Thaquis would remember too. As the guard stepped forward, demanding to know her business, she did not answer. Instead, she simply raised her hand, revealing the emblem of the Tang clan, the only thing she had left of her past. For the first time in years, a smile touched her lips. Revenge had finally come. The guard sneered at the sight of the emblem. In Zhao Yulan's hand, their expressions filled with mockery rather than fear. A Tang clan emblem. That old name means nothing now. One of them scoffed, resting his hand lazily on the hilt of his sword. Did you dig it out of the ashes, little girl? The other guard chuckled, shaking his head. If you're looking for work, go beg elsewhere. We don't have time for lost orphans. Zhao Yulan didn't move. The years had hardened her, carving away all traces of the helpless child she once was. She had learned to control her emotions, to keep her rage buried deep until the right moment. But now, standing at the gates of the fortress, where the men responsible for her family's massacre lived comfortably, her fingers itched to strike. Instead, she exhaled slowly and stepped forward. The first guard's smirk barely had time to fade before her hand shot out, twisting his wrist before he could draw his sword. A sharp cry of pain escaped his lips, but she was already moving. Her foot swept beneath him, knocking him to the ground. The second guard cursed, unsheathing his blade in panic, but she was faster. With a precise strike to his temple, he collapsed before he could even cry for help. She knelt beside the first man, gripping his collar. Tell me where Wu Gang is. His eyes widened in horror. Wu Gang? You remember the name, don't you? Her voice was quiet, but there was an edge of steel beneath it. He was the one who ordered the destruction of the Tang clan. Where is he? The man trembled, his earlier arrogance vanishing. He's inside. He stays in the inner chambers. Yulan let go of him. Standing up without another word, she had spent years chasing whispers, following trails that had long gone cold. But now she was finally here. She stepped over the unconscious bodies and walked through the gates. Inside, the fortress was alive with activity. Men in armor laughed and drank, their swords resting carelessly by their sides. Servants scurried through the halls, their heads bowed. It was a place of power, of wealth. But to Yulan, it was nothing more than a graveyard, waiting to be filled. As she moved deeper into the fortress, memories clawed their way back. The night of the massacre, the flames, the cries of her family, Wu Gang's laughter echoing in the chaos. Her fingers curled into fists. Not yet. She had waited this long. She could wait a little longer. Then a familiar voice made her freeze. Did you hear? The Tang clan girl is still alive. Yulan's heart pounded, but she forced herself to stay still, listening. The voice came from a nearby corridor, where two men stood talking in hushed tones. Nonsense. The other man scoffed. They were all wiped out. No, I'm telling you. I overheard Lord Wu speaking about it. He said someone's been hunting down the old enemies of the Tang clan. He thinks it might be her. Yulan's grip on her dagger tightened. Wu Gang some knew. She was coming. She turned away, keeping to the shadows as she moved. The inner chambers weren't far now. But she wasn't the only one hunting tonight. As she reached the entrance to Wu Gang's quarters, she felt it. A presence. Someone was watching her. She whirled around just as a blade came rushing toward her. She barely managed to twist away. the sharp edge cutting through the fabric of her sleeve. A masked figure stood before her, their stance sharp, deadly. Their movements were fast, too fast for an ordinary guard. An assassin. Yulan had no time to think. The assassin struck again, forcing her to block with her forearm. Pain shot through her bones, but she didn't falter. She countered with a swift kick, aiming for their ribs, but they dodged with ease. Who was Win? This person. They fought in silence, their blades clashing under the dim torchlight. Every strike, every movement was precise. Like a dance of death, Yulan gritted her teeth. She had fought countless enemies before, but this one was different. Then, as their weapons locked, she saw it, the emblem on the assassin's wrist, a jade pendant carved with the crest of the divine healers. Yulan's breath caught in her throat. Who sent you? She demanded, pushing back. The assassin hesitated for just a fraction of a second. It was enough. Yulan struck, disarming them in one swift motion. The dagger clattered to the ground, and before the assassin could react, she tore off their mask. Her heart stopped. It wasn't a stranger. It was someone she hadn't seen in 20 years. Zijun? The woman before her, Zhao Zijun, her older sister, stared back, her face a mixture of shock and disbelief. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, Zijun said, "You shouldn't be here." Yulan's blood ran cold. Her sister was alive, but instead of joy, a deep unease settled in her chest. Because if Zijun was here, working as an assassin, it meant the truth was far more complicated than she had ever imagined. Yulan's breath was unsteady, her mind racing to make sense of what she was seeing. For years, she had believed she was the only survivor of the Tang clan. The night of the massacre had taken everything. Her home, her parents, her future. And yet, standing before her was proof that not everything had been lost. Her sister, Zhao Zijun, was alive. But instead of relief, a cold realization settled over her. Zijun wasn't just alive. She had been fighting against her. "You shouldn't be here," Zijun repeated, her voice lower this time, as if she was warning her. Yulan swallowed hard. "You're working for them?" The words tasted bitter in her mouth. For Wu Gang, Zijun didn't answer immediately. Her grip on the dagger tightened, her face unreadable. "It's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is," Yulan shot back. "Because from where I'm standing, you're protecting the man who killed our family." Zijun's jaw clenched. "You don't understand." "Then make me understand." Silence stretched between them, thick with tension. In the distance, the sound of laughter and clanking armor echoed through the halls. Time was slipping away. Zijun finally exhaled, her shoulders stiff. "I did what I had to in order to survive." Her voice wavered, just slightly. "I was captured that night, just like you. But instead of being left to die, I was taken. They saw potential in me. Wu Gang spared my life under one condition. I would serve under his command." Yulan's heart pounded. "You chose this?" Zijun's eyes darkened. "I had no choice." Yulan shook her head. "There's always was a choice." Zijun's hands trembled for a brief second before she steadied herself. "Do you think I wanted this life?" she whispered. "Do you think I wanted to become one of them? Every day I waited for a chance to turn against them. But you don't understand how deep their power runs. You don't know what they're capable of." Yulan's voice was firm. "Then stand with me now. Help me finish this." Zijun looked away. "It's too late." "No." Yulan stepped forward. "It's not." For the first time, Hesitation flickered across Zijun's face. She had spent years convincing herself that there was no way out, that she had no choice but to obey. But now, facing her sister, all of those beliefs were unraveling. Before either of them could say another word, a voice rang through the halls. "She's here! The Tang girl!" Yulan turned, just as armed guards rushed toward them. Zijun's body tensed, and for a moment, Yulan didn't know if her sister would fight with her or against her. Then, Zijun moved. With a sharp motion, she grabbed Yulan's wrist and pulled her down a side corridor. "This way!" Yulan barely had time to process what was happening before they were running, their footsteps echoing against the stone walls. The fortress was a maze of twisting hallways, but Zijun knew every turn. She led Yulan through a hidden passage, slipping past patrols and closing doors behind them. Finally, they reached the inner chambers. Wu Gang was there, standing by the grand table, a smug smile spreading across his face. "I was wondering when you'd show up." Yulan's blood boiled. She had waited years for this moment. The man, who had stolen everything from her, was right in front of her, unguarded. She didn't hesitate. She lunged, her blade flashing in the dim torchlight. Wu Gang barely managed to dodge, his smirk faltering as he grabbed his sword. Steel clashed against steel, sparks flying as they fought. Yulan was relentless, her strikes fueled by years of pain and fury. But Wu Gang was no ordinary opponent. He was skilled, ruthless. He countered every move, his blade slicing dangerously close. Zijun hesitated for only a second. Before she made her choice, she drew her weapon and joined the fight. Wu Gang's eyes widened as Zijun turned against him. "You traitor!" His words were cut off by a sharp, clean strike. Zijun's dagger buried deep into his side, her expression unreadable. Wu Gang gasped, stumbling back, his grip on his sword weakened as he fell to his knees. Yulan stepped forward, her breath unsteady. "This is for our family." With one final strike, Wu Gang fell. Silence filled the room. Zijun let out a shaky breath, staring at the blood on her hands. "It's over." Yulan looked at her sister, 1,000 emotions swirling in her chest. They had won, but victory didn't erase the past. "We need to leave," Yulan said softly. "There will be more of them." Zijun nodded, but she didn't move right away. "I don't know how to start over," she admitted. Yulan reached out, gripping her sister's hand. "We do it together." For the first time in years, Zijun allowed herself to believe in something other than survival. Together, they stepped out into the night, leaving the fortress behind. The past would always be a part of them. But now, for the first time, the future was theirs to choose.